Mazda John Madden. Same spot where I shot a couple of videos yesterday morning in my car, which is still not starting. There's a big municipal bus. They have no air conditioning, and it's a stick shift. They're stick shift buses. They're pretty ancient. But I've ridden them to the mall where the Apple store is. That's one of the enchanted parts about this town, is that in a town way up in the mountains here, there's an Apple store, and they've helped me a lot. I had a really good day again yesterday, Sunday. I went in search. My friend Lee had sent me $100 MoneyGram, and I went in search of a place to get it cashed. And the computer systems of Mexico had decided to honor the Sabbath. Sábado is actually Saturday, and Domingo, the Lord's Day, is Sunday. Because none of them, all their systems had shut down. I stopped a total of 9 different places trying to get that MoneyGram cashed and never could get it cashed. But still had a good day. One of the highlights was I had a little me and a couple of my favorite cops who have been nice to me ever since they've been feeling bad about arresting me, stopped next to me where I was sitting, and I had just rolled myself a cigarette and had smoked it, and they pulled up next to me and said, "Hey man, what you doing?" Perfect Cheech and Chong. And I responded perfect Cheech and Chong and said, "Getting high, man, cannabis, you want some?" They thought that was real funny. They said, "See you later." So that was fun. And I made 3 of the videos for my 4 fabulous friends that I had conversations with on Saturday. I made 3 videos to celebrate 3 of them. I've got one left. My dear friend Margaret Everett, and I'm going to make a video about Margaret. Hopefully I get the details straight. I wasn't sure about the details in my video about my friend Lynn. Margaret and I met in another enchanted American town, Asheville, North Carolina, on the spine of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Hippie, progressive place where I lived for 16 years, and I arrived there at the bottom of my false diagnosis of bipolar disorder. It was a desperate grab at life. Maybe somehow I'll get my life started and not kill myself. And I came damn close to not making it, but I did scrape by. And leaned into I went there not wanting to do any of the professional work I had ever done. I wanted to become the working class hero I'd always been meant to be, because I grew up real working class. And I did, I think, a total of 13 frontline customer service jobs in 16 years in Nashville, ranging from taxi driver to restaurant server to a whole lot of retail, especially 7 years as grocery store cashier. 2 different places. The Whole Foods, it wasn't branded Whole Foods because Asheville didn't like corporate names, but it had been sold out to Whole Foods. And then Earth Fare is the regional chain of about 59 stores that their flagship store was in Asheville, and it was the hippy dippy store where you could dress any way you wanted. And when the corporate finally tried to make people wear uniforms, the customers revolted. "Don't do that to our people. We like our store." And it was in many ways the heart of Asheville. And another heart of Asheville was a funky church called Jubilee, which was Christian. The minister he was 3rd generation United Methodist Christian minister, but he gave up his Methodist license when they tried to crack down on him about doing gay marriages. He gave it back, which was a heroic step. And Margaret and I, we went through our pledging together. They had a weekend workshop where you learned about the church, and we went through that together, and that's how we got to know each other. And just an instance of how funky that church is. Howard was a really charming, funny man, jazz musician, had traveled with the USO. His band had traveled with the USO in Europe and stuff, making jazz music for the troops. He identified at least as much as a jazz musician. He's a wonderful pianist, as he did as a minister. And he wouldn't say amen. He'd say, oh yeah, like a jazz guy. So everybody in Jubilee would end their emails with oh yeah and stuff like that. And there would be weed 'em out Sundays, because even though it was Christian, it was accepting of everything. There would be a Wiccan ceremony. And the classic story, which I got confirmed because I turned out it was a friend of mine who was involved in this story, where a woman had done a poem in praise of her vulva. Yeah. And when it was over, this guy's family was in town and had come to church, and he leaned back and said, why did she do a poem in praise of her Volvo? I mean, a car. Come on, that's ridiculous. And I think he managed to sell it to them. They went, oh, okay. It was that was Frank Marshall. That was his family. That was funny. So Margaret, lovely, charming, so smart, and so well-read, and knew all the right New Age people that meant a lot to me, Eckhart Tolle, all that stuff, and a seeker, deep seeker, always looking to find her way to God, to who she's really meant to be, always. And I think that was more than her beauty, which is extraordinary. It was that drew me to Margaret. And so I moved to Asheville when I was 58. When I celebrated my 60th birthday, I eventually ended up with quite an extraordinary network of friends through Jubilee, through Earth Fair, through the ecstatic dance community. But at my 60th birthday, I really didn't have friends, close friends. I gathered my two closest friends around me for a 60th birthday, and Maya Joelle Aubry. I ought to get back in touch with her again. She's a dear. She's a French lady. And we had an extraordinary friendship. And Margaret. And Maya Joelle had either not shown up yet or had stepped out of the room when Margaret took the chance to say to me, you know there's going to be no romance between us. And I desperately wanted it. I went, okay. I'm not going to cry. But I went, geez, what's wrong with me? Well, there was a lot wrong with me. I still was in the throes of believing I had bipolar disorder. So I was racked with depression, and it was a terrible time. It wouldn't have been a good time anyway. But we've stayed in touch, and Margaret and I bridged a big cultural gap. She's genuinely Southern. Asheville is full of all kinds of transplants. It's hard to find a genuine Southerner in Asheville. But she was. She had grown up in Columbia, South Carolina, and had old Southern money. Her dad had made it, her grandfather in insurance business. So she had money. And she would go to Peru to do ayahuasca with a shaman. I mean, she could do stuff like that. So there's and me, I've always been broke, pretty much. I had my years of corporate consulting when I wasn't, but then when my back got broken with the bipolar disorder thing, I couldn't work full time anymore. So I've kind of always been broke, and I'm trying to get over, because I know that's a consciousness thing. I know that that life does not want me to be broke all the time. And I have a plan, and I think that's all going to change in the future. But that's always been the case. So it was a big gulf to bridge. And I had my judgments about her being spoiled and middle class and all that. At times I've had that. But not in this conversation. Margaret, I would hazard to say that she was too much looking outside of herself for the answers. But she's not anymore. She was amazing in this conversation. She has moved to the country. She had a lovely home in the loveliest Montford neighborhood of Asheville. No, she gave up that. And she's got a farm. She's got 22 acres out in the country by Marshall, which is the most wonderful riverside community that I discovered in my first year of running the mountains of western North Carolina. Marshall is this town right on the French Broad River, filled with artists who have left Asheville because they can't afford the studio rents there anymore. It's enchanted. And when I found out she was just outside of Marshall, I said, wow, Margaret. And her whole presence was so solid, so solid. I just trusted it completely. Like, Margaret, you found yourself. Wow, that's amazing. She said, times when I used to, I'd go buy dresses and stuff. No, I go to Tractor Supply and buy stuff for projects around the farm. Yeah. And she's got a niece. I don't know. She's got a couple of young relatives, a niece and her boyfriend or something, are also living on the compound. So she's not isolated at all. And she's in good shape. So I ended that conversation so happy. Oh, Margaret, I've always loved you and always will. And you're happy. Whew. I'm happy. You're happy. It's a happy ending, huh? Hopefully not the ending. But hopefully not the ending, because I said, I want to talk to you some more. This is so amazing. You're so wonderful to talk to. And she always has been. We've always had fabulous conversations. So we're going to talk more. We will talk more. I won't call her every day, even though I want to. But I'll call her every few days. And it's great. So, Margaret, this is for you, girl. Congratulations. Found yourself. Yeah. Okay, bye.